It seems like the greater part of our lives are still filled with the unknown. From places we've never been, things we've never seen, and people we've never met. But it's when we travel to new places like this, foreign to everything we know of, we're reminded of how much we have yet to discover. For the past few weeks, we ventured all around Morocco, finding ourselves in places we never thought we'd end up. With no expectations, we set out on a journey, following our own compass, unsure of what we'd come across, but ready to embrace it all. Our first impression of Morocco was made here, in Rabat, the capital city. Wandering aimlessly, we were met with some of the most unique architecture only found in Morocco. We visited the iconic Hassan Tower and marveled at the fortified Muslim necropolis called Chella. It's absolutely incredible to think that this place was built in 40 AD and is still able to be seen like this. This was also our first time seeing the native storks in their big nests, which made us feel like we were on another planet. We remember taking our first steps into the local markets. There was a certain presence of chaos throughout the streets. But amongst the busyness, we were greeted warmly by the locals, who didn't hesitate to show us their Moroccan hospitality. Oftentimes our world is tainted with negative ideas about people, but with every new adventure we find that to be less and less true. We believe the world's filled with good people like you and I. You just have to find them. As we begin to leave the city of Rabat, we are left with a sense of hope and excitement for what's to come on our adventure. It reminds us that some of our best moments haven't even happened yet, and we're only getting started. When we think of Casablanca, we primarily think of the film. But today, we wanted to paint you another picture. Welcome to the city of Casablanca. As you step onto the streets of Casablanca, you are delighted with an aroma of spices and fresh-baked bread. You can feel the liveliness of the city through the sound of cars and market vendors speaking a mix of French and Arabic. It's necessary to stray from crowds when exploring new places like this, because it's when you're lost in the labyrinth of winding alleyways that you'll find the hidden gems, like this olive market. Olives are a fairly crucial ingredient in Moroccan cuisine, hence why they have entire sections just for selling olive products. This is the store owner who is kind enough to offer us some of his honey before we left. After a little bit more exploring of the old town, we headed towards our last stop of the city, Africa's largest mosque. Situated right next to the Atlantic Ocean, the Hassan II Mosque had views nothing short of amazing. And just when we thought it couldn't get better, the sun started to go down and we were left with some breathtaking views. We stumbled upon a few farmers and decided to see what they were harvesting. It turns out they were harvesting wheat to make a traditional Moroccan bread called khobz, which we would later try for ourselves. Averaging around 3 million tons of wheat a year, Morocco is considered to be a fairly large wheat importer. But these past few years, Morocco has been experiencing some of its worst droughts in decades, causing a decrease in the overall production. However, things are beginning to look better for farmers as the next marketing year is predicted to increase by 41% from its previous year. Welcome to Marrakesh. Hued with bright red buildings, the colors of the city aren't the only thing that's vibrant. The bustling Medinas and luxurious riads are just the tip of the iceberg. And in a place that seems to be going faster than time itself, we learned how important it is to slow down. James Thurber once said, "Beautiful things don't ask for attention." And I think for those who care to take a second to look closer or dig a little deeper, you'll find that most of the time, beautiful things are hidden in plain sight. From the intricate patterns on the walls to the handmade merchandise in the souks. Stopping to admire the attention to detail made us appreciate this country even more. Because in an age where technology creates and builds for us, Morocco continues to create artwork embedded within all aspects of their culture. And while many see these people as ordinary workers, we see artists. And that shouldn't go unnoticed. As filmmakers, documenting the city has been like playing on a playground, because everywhere you go, there's always something to see. A lot of people say we leave parts of ourselves in places we travel to. And when we leave, that's why we're left with this feeling of longing, because we become attached to these memories we've made, the people we've met, and the life we lived. And even if it was for just a very brief moment, our lives shouldn't be justified by the amount of time we're here, but more so, how we choose to spend our time. Before leaving Marrakesh, we decided to stop by a patch of land which we found using Google Maps. Initially, we wanted to look at the olive trees, but when the owner found us and insisted on showing us his land, we couldn't say no. Oh, he wanted to show us the apricots, limes, and lemons. Wow. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Though there was such a heavy language barrier between us, it didn't stop us from learning.
Jojo, chicken? Yeah,
Mohammed grew up here in Marrakesh and has spent all of his life tending to this farm, where he grows various types of fruits, vegetables, and even raises livestock. After our impromptu tour, we headed for the mountains. This is a place we've seen countless times online and had to visit. Making our way through the high Atlas Mountains, we were able to see some of Morocco's most beautiful landscapes. From mountain ranges to red rocks, we had finally arrived at our next destination. Located in the foothills on the southern slopes of the high Atlas sits a fortified village by the name of Aït Benhaddou. Known for its unique architecture and adobe dwellings, Aït Benhaddou was rightfully declared an UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 1987. One thing that caught our eye are the adobe-styled houses. Essentially, the majority of these buildings are made from earth, water, and straw that have been rammed into bricks to create these unusual dwellings. On our way up to the top of the fortress, we were surprised with sudden wind gusts. And having never been in a sandstorm, we thought, what's the worst that could happen? After having some fun in the sand, we finally made it to the top of the fortress, where we took in the views. Something we learned about Aït Benhaddou is how different it was from Marrakesh. Despite it being only a few hours away, this little mountainous village seemed a lot quieter than most of the places we've been so far. And after a busy few days, staying here was much needed. Hassan is one of the shop owners here in Aït Benhaddou. He says that he comes here a few months out of the year from Sahara to sell his jewelry. You can find a lot of shops like this all throughout Morocco. We were able to meet a few more local shop owners before having to leave, most of which made and sold jewelry as well. Though a quiet and small village, Aït Benhaddou has been one of our favorite places to explore because of its unique beauty, and we can't wait to come back one day. After rejuvenating for a few days, it was time to embark on a 3-day journey which would take us through a few lesser-known villages and into the backcountry of Morocco. We also got to visit one of the most anticipated locations of our trip over these next few days. So let's take the road less traveled and see where we end up. Starting this journey off in Skoura, we visited Kasbah Amridil. Built nearly 300 years ago for the Nasidi family, today it stands as a museum to educate visitors about life in the 17th century for wealthy families. As we continue to make our way to the next location, crazy mountain landscapes became a pretty normal sight to see. Miles and miles of land stretched across the horizon. It made us think about how special these places are. With no sight of land development, we were able to see this world and its natural beauty, being able to appreciate it not for what it could be, but simply for what it is. Exploring the various landscapes here in Morocco have brought us closer to the natural world. There's something that draws us to these untamed places of Earth. Whether it's our innate craving to explore or our need to get away from the city. Coming to these distant lands have given us a reason to stray from crowds and make our own path. The next morning we headed in the direction of Chagaga, Erg meaning Sea of Dunes. Over the past few months we visited some extraordinary places, and coming to the desert has been on our list for quite some time now, because it's places like this where photos and videos fail to capture all the beauty. It's only with our own senses that we can fully take in this spectacle. And let me tell you, this place was everything we hoped for. It's not every day that you see something that changes your perspective on life. But the moment we walked into Chouara Tannery, we instantly saw a glimpse of what many people have to do in order to put food on the table. Here in Fez, the leather tanneries are a popular attraction to many tourists. We visited Chouara Tannery, where we were able to see some of the workers processing animal hides into leather. Making leather in this traditional way as opposed to using modern machines makes this a very long and tedious process. Not to mention, tanners are constantly exposed to acidic chemicals, which have been known to cause burns, health problems, and even early death. Workers often started by stripping the hides of any hair. They then soaked the animal hides in a mixture of different liquids and even animal feces in order to soften and break them down. A big drum would rinse the acidic chemicals off, only to repeat this similar process a few more times before dyeing and drying the hides. On average, tanners will make around 150 dirham, which is a little shy of 15 euros, for a whole day's worth of backbreaking work. Not only was it interesting to see the process of the creating of the leather, but seeing the conditions that these workers work in opened our eyes to how fortunate many of us are. As we leave Fez, we are left with a more appreciative outlook on life. That sometimes a lot of our problems aren't as big as we make them out to be, because simply put, things could always be worse. It's possible that many of us live our lives conforming to everyone else, from what we wear to what we believe, to trends we follow. And while doing so, we tend to draw out the colors that make us unique from one another. Visiting Chefchaouen reminded us that it's okay to be different. In fact, that's the whole reason why we're here. Welcome to the Blue City of Morocco. Though there are a few different stories as to why the city is painted blue, it's no doubt that its differences have appealed to many people around the world, making it one of the most colorful cities on the planet. Upon walking through the old town of Chefchaouen, we realized that this small city had more to offer than its bright blue buildings. We visited the Kasbah of Chefchaouen, where we were able to enjoy the view of the city. We meandered through narrow halls where we couldn't help but notice the attention to detail around every corner. And we met more locals who were able to show us some of their crafts. While the streets are rampant with stray cats and filled with textiles and goods, Chefchaouen has shown us its true colors. And as we say goodbye with the final sunset from the Spanish mosque, we continue to think about how unique this small city is and what we've learned from being here. And there was one question that seemed to stick with us all this time. Why fit in when you can stand out? Located on the most northern part of Morocco, Tangier is our final stop of the trip. As we continue to explore the markets and Old Town for a final time, our feelings of nostalgia began to grow. And it's a funny feeling when you know something is coming to an end, because you tend to look at things differently. Everything that was once ordinary and insignificant suddenly becomes more special in a way. From the arches, to the fruit stands, to the narrow alleyways. It makes us wonder if the little things mean more to us than we think, and that maybe we need goodbyes and endings. Because how else would we know how much these moments mean to us? Being able to document the country of Morocco has been one of our greatest pleasures. Because not only were we able to learn and discover a new way of life, we were able to share it with you. And we believe that with more knowledge comes more appreciation and compassion. And though we may never know how it truly feels to be in someone else's shoes, we can do our best to understand each other more, to embrace our differences, to leave this world a slightly better place than we found it. Because if we know one thing, it's that this world is our only home, and we, the people, are our only hope for a better tomorrow.